Tracy Clark with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the components of that business plan. So this is series part 2 of the business plan. And you can stop me all along the way if you have questions, but we'll go through this presentation and we should be done with before the hour's out, but it'll be a good one, especially if you are in the midst of writing your plan. All right. And so it just talks about what the business plan is. And so right now, we know it's a document, and most of you know that it's a written document that kind of describes in detail how your business will be run, how the operation will go, who's in charge. And so it kind of details that. And along with that, it has your projections, what will happen with marketing. And so that's what the business plan is, if you didn't know. And so today we're going to just go through some of the components of that plan so that you can have an understanding of what goes where. I get a lot of calls and people say, well, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this part is. What's the sales strategy? What's this, that? And so today we'll kind of explore each of those and talk through those and see what it is that maybe I can help you with. And like I said, this will be really open. It's informal. I really want to connect with you and talk about it. So if you have questions, just you can put it in the chat. And I know that Allison will be monitoring that, or you can just unmute yourself and ask any questions. So as we look at this wheel here, it kind of gives us all of the components of the business plan. Okay. Now, as you see, it kind of starts with the executive summary. Now, and that's fine, because in the front of your business plan is always the executive summary. Now, the executive summary, though, however, is not written until you've completed all of the other steps. Why? Because the executive summary is exactly what it states. It is a summary of the components of your business plan. When you go to a lender, they are not going to look at that entire business plan. They're going to start with the executive summary because it should have what they need there. It should tell them a description of the company, a brief description, and telling how it got started. Your marketing is there. Your projections will be there. All of your financial projections. And so that's what they're looking at, your marketing plan, how you plan to sell the widgets or whatever it is that you're going to sell. So you'll have opportunity to kind of put, and that executive summary should be no more than a page or a page and a half. If it's longer than that, it's, they need to see that information that they're looking for right away. So usually if it's one sheet, they love that. That way they can see right away what your thought process is, how you plan to make money if you're going for a loan, what your financial projections are estimated to be, and they can figure all that out in that executive summary. All right, so let's go to our company description. So when we talk about the company description, it is exactly what it is. It is describing it's describing your company. It's talking about what that company is. So whether you're a flower shop or a restaurant or a shoe store, whatever it is, you want to give a description, an overview in a high level when you're putting it on the executive summary. Okay. So yeah, and you're going to talk about the elements of that business, what it does, how it's being operated, and describe where it's located at. Make sure you have your address and all of that information, your website, your Facebook page, giving that description to help them be able to get a picture of this business that you have. Okay. And that's important. So as we go back, I want to talk a little bit about the market analysis. And so when you've done your studies and you go out to collect information, and this really happens in Business Plan 1, it kind of talks about some of the information that you go after in order to put it in these components. So you'll do market analysis on, what that market looks like for your industry. What segments do I have to, am I trying to get? Who are the targets for that market that I'm going after? And then what does that market look like right now? So you'll gain and collect information so that you're able to kind of ascertain what that might look like for you. And you'll write that down and keep that handy, because all of that will be going into your plan. So before you can write the plan, and we'll talk a little bit about writing it a little later on, you want to collect this information. So even though we're going through all these components, but this information has to be collected. There's things you must do, and you can Google. You don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, okay, what's a market analysis? You can Google, okay, market analysis, and it'll give you the definition, and it'll give you examples of the things that you need to do. So this isn't, rocket science. It's not that you have to go through a lot of, painstakingly data. It'll come right to you. And so don't be afraid to search out and look at for the things that you need, okay? So your market analysis will be done. You'll have that information. And remember, as you're going out and getting the information, this is all data that you're going to eventually put into your business plan. So you want to make sure that as you're collecting that data, you're putting it on your computer so you have it, and you begin to construct that business plan in that order. So you've got your company description, you've got your market analysis, and now, you want to look at, what's my competition look like? So you're going to kind of scout out and look around for those businesses that are similar to yours in size and also in financial status, because those are the ones that'll really be your direct competitors. So if you have, and I have people will come to me and they'll say, oh, well, you know what? Panera Bread is my competitor, and they name all these big companies, but however, a lot of them are not your direct competitors, okay? Because one person told me, oh yes, they are, because they do the same thing I do. I'm making bread, I'm making sandwiches, and they're my competitor. Some people you can tell some things, and some people you can't. So, but when you're doing your competitive analysis, you want to look for those companies that are similar in size of yours, similar operational type things, and your financial status are similar, because those are direct to you. And then look at those who are close to you. Are they 3 miles away? Are they 2 miles away? And then what does that market share look like out there right now before you get into it? Okay, so when you're comparing and looking at those competitors, making sure that you're comparing businesses that are same as your size or a little larger, because you want to grow to that size anyway. But you want to make sure that you're doing you're not comparing apples to oranges or grapes to, grapefruits. So you just want to make sure that you stay in the line where you are to make sure that you can get the right financial information, that the data that you're collecting is comparable to what you'll be doing. Okay, so that's your competitive analysis. Now, management and operations, that's internal. So you'll be determining who is your, who's going to be your management, your staff, how that business will be operated. And, so you'll have your policies and your guidelines and things that you will put together with the person that you are using for HR. And I know a lot of times in small businesses, we don't have all the different departments, an HR department and all this. So that either becomes you or someone you've assigned that task to. And sometimes in small businesses, there may be 2 or 3 people. And so you just have to make sure that the roles are all covered, that are going to make sense and going to get you what you need so that your business runs successfully and efficiently. And that's really important. The more efficient your business runs, the better your financials will look. And so you want to make sure that whoever you're putting in particular places, that they are able to understand what that position is and what your expectation is for that position. So just make sure that you have the right people in the right seat on the bus so that your business can run efficiently and appropriately the way you want it to run. All right, so, and then you want to have a breakdown of, so if you're doing services, you want to know what those are and have those listed so that you can kind of define what that pricing might look like, and as far as your products as well. A lot of people have they have some issues with pricing. Okay, and pricing is different, but you have to make sure that you're putting in your labor into that product, whatever that widget is that you're selling. You want to make sure that you have it priced appropriately for where you are, what it costs you, the time that you put into it, whatever labor that goes with that. Just make sure you're pricing it so that you are making the profit that you're expecting. You can't lowball something, to sell it. You have to make sure that you're getting out of it a little more out of it on profit than what you put into it. And that's for your services as well. A lot of times, if you're a consultant or you have a service-based business, sometimes that's hard because people don't always view intellectual property as they can't see it, so can just kind of feel it or what have you. So in consulting, a lot of times individuals have problems if they're a coach trying to set their prices, but they just have to remember what they're worth, what it's costing them, what their time is, and once you can put amounts to your time, amounts to whatever it is that you're doing, then a lot of times you'll come up with the right pricing. And then you can always check with others too. Like if you don't know, we have the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. That's a resource center. SCORE, which is also a resource center. So you can go to these organizations and you can ask these specific questions if you don't know someone that knows these things. Also, there's Nebraska Business Development Center, and there's quite a few others. But the worst thing you could do is not to get the information you're looking for. And here we have multiple agencies and resources to help you. So make sure you're using those resources that are around as well. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask a question, because the only question I think is dumb is the one that you don't ask. And especially when you're getting into business, if this is your first time, you want to make sure that you're connected to people that you can get good information from, right? The right information from the right source will help you to make an informed decision. So don't forget that. All right, so as we talked about the pricing, now we're going to look at our marketing plan. The marketing plan entails, exactly what you plan to do to sell your service or your product. And it's great to lay out a plan, because if you do that, then you can follow that plan to make sure that you're bringing in what you expect to bring in and that the marketing is working. Now, today we have so many areas so many channels that you can market. You've got Facebook, you have Twitter, you have all these other, everything. People do business on Instagram. I mean, it's like you can do business almost any on social media, and it's working. I mean, there's the marketplace on online as well that you can go to. I mean, so when we're talking about marketing, you just have to decide how many channels you're going to use. If you're going to use a whole lot, that's fine, because the more channels that you use, obviously, the more people you're getting to. So make sure that you take advantage of all the free things first that you can do online. And even if you have to spend a few pennies on boosting something on Facebook or doing an ad on Facebook, don't be afraid to do that. Just do that, because you will need to get it out so people know about your business, about your product or service, so that they can begin to, purchase. And that's the whole goal. I mean, there's everything online. I can find almost everything that I didn't want online on Facebook or, a lot of social media. So just don't be afraid to do that. Sales strategy. So you'll sit down and you'll look at what you have. You're gonna make note of the things and what they cost, and then you're gonna figure out, how am I going to sell this, right? So a lot of individuals that have products that they have online on their website, I mean, they have all types of, catchy phrases that will pull people in and make them purchase. So you can do the same thing. And there are a lot of strategies that you can use depending on what your business is. And if you need help in that area, again, some of the resources that I named earlier, you can certainly go there. You can also look online at some things that you can do. So don't let what you don't know stop you. There is so much that you can find out just with the click of the finger on your computer. So don't be afraid to do that. And of course, again, we're available as coaches and counselors to help as well. Any small business coach or counselor can help you. So make sure that you make those connections and get that information that you need. So let's talk a little bit about your financial projections. And this is huge. I've worked with quite a few people that I think what it was is that they didn't fully understand their financials. And that's okay. We have a lot of individuals that we start our businesses and we may not have all that financial background that we need. And hopefully, but you're working with someone that you've either taken some classes, so you kind of understand, even though you may be paying someone to do this. Most people say, well, I have an accountant. That's well and good, but you still need to know about the money coming in and the money going out. You need to know about money you're spending on the different products that you're selling, money for your inventory for this or that. You have to know those numbers. And I find that most businesses that the small businesses that don't, lots of times they're losing money. And so you need to really keep track of what's coming on. Even though someone files your taxes and all of that, you still kind of need to know yourself how you're doing in the business financially. You don't want to be caught off guard as with the when the pandemic hit. So many of the very minor, I'm sorry, the micro businesses had lots of trouble because they did not have records. So when it was time to file for PPP on that first round, they weren't eligible. They didn't have their financials in order, and so to create all of that, I mean, that's really what they had to do, was to go back and create all of that. And a lot of it wasn't down on paper. So I think this taught us a lot of things. And most of those individuals we've been working with now, so that um, they're on QuickBooks and they're able to now see and run reports. That's what we want to make sure that our small businesses are doing, that there's a system in place to help them along the way to make this a smoother transition, or I should say a smoother operation, so that they can be successful in their business. And we've already talked about the executive summary. So once we write the executive summary, our business plan is actually done, because we've taken data from each of these components and now we're here. So we're just summarizing from each of these to give us this executive summary. Okay. And remember, we want to keep that at no more than a page or a page and a half. You don't want to do 2 pages on that, because people stop looking at the lenders and the investors. They won't look past that. Okay. All right. And if they want to, when you give them the business plan, they can go and look in the specific areas that you put in for any additional detailed information. All right. So we already know that it summarizes our whole plan. And again, the executive summary, again, is just 1 page or less to get that. And we've already talked about. So this is the market analysis. And I just kind of want to go over these a little bit because we talked about it. I wanted to stay on that page of the components, so we went through all of those. But again, I can always provide, and I think they'll have a recording of this, so you guys will be able to go back and look at that as well. So the market analysis, again, it's quantitative. So we're talking about the amount of data, right? And it's qualitative. So we're talking about the quality that's out there in the market. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at the size of the market, both in volume and value. You want to make sure that you have different customer segments, right? And you want to monitor their buying patterns. So when we're talking about the analysis of the market, these are the things that you're looking at, okay? And you're also looking at your competition as well. Looking at the environment economically, what does that look like? What's the like most people today, I'll hear them say, well, I want to build, or I'm going to operate my business in this area because the median income is 100,000 or more, right? And so these are the things for your market analysis that you'll be looking at. Okay. I want to stop right here and see if there are any questions, because I do talk fast and I don't want to leave anyone behind. So if you have questions about anything we've talked about so far, you can just let me know, and I'll just wait a second or two. Okay, and it looks like there's something. Okay, so someone asked if I would have the presentation deck available. I'll have to check and see, but basically you will have the recording, and I think that'll come out probably next week. So you'll be able to play that over and over and over again. Okay. And if you need that, my information will be at the end, so you can certainly contact me on that as well. All right. All right. So let's kind of move on. I don't want to get stuck, but I want to make sure that we get a chance to go through everything. All right. So as we're talking about the competitive analysis, that just identifies our competitors. Remember, we talked a little bit about it as I went through on the components. So it does identify our competitors. It looks at and evaluate strategies that you can use. It determines what their, how strong they are in what they're doing. And it also will give you some information on the weaknesses as well. So that is relative to your brand, because you want to make sure that wherever they're weak at, you want to make sure you're built up in that area. And you want to do some mystery shopping as well, is what I call it, because you want to always check them out. I mean, if you're a restaurant and you're going to another restaurant, you want to go in and sample the food. What do they have? What are they offering? And then what is it that they're not offering? I always make note of that, because that may be something I could add to my restaurant that would bring people in, and I could use that as a competitive advantage to get people to come in. So remember, when we're looking at the competitive analysis, and I have a list of things here so you can look at those things, what affects that security strategy. You may have to change tactics. So look at this chart. Take a snapshot of it if you want to, but it kind of lays out some of the things that you should be looking at, and that you should be doing. Okay. There's certain things that can negatively impact your business. And then always, if you're moving into a new place and someone's already there, maybe 3 miles or 5 miles down the road, and you're gonna have to try to steal some of that market share. So what are you gonna do competitively to make that happen? I mean, it's not that you're stealing market share, just that when you go in, anytime a business goes in new, people jump to try it, because, and then what you want to make sure that whatever they come and they find the first time they come, keep that, because that's what will keep bringing them back. I've gone to restaurants, and the first time I went, it was fabulous. And after that, just kind of went down. And I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't get the same service this time. Customers watch all of that. And so when we're talking about being competitive with other vendors, suppliers, other restaurants, other construction companies, you want to make sure that you're being top notch, you have great customer service, that you're doing the things that you would want. And that's how I look at it. I'm saying, okay, this is what I like. So if I had a business doing this, I'm going to make sure that my customers felt that every time I went in. And I'll tell you a short story. I was in California, I lived there for a while, and I would always go to this place to get my nails done, you know, mani pedi. And this place was just amazing. You would go in, I mean, they would meet you at that, there was a greeter at the door. You would go in, if you had on a coat or whatever, they took that off you right away. They started that customer service at the door. So think about that. And I went there, I visited some other places and I wasn't happy, but when I went to that place, I stayed there till I moved from California. I went, that was my go-to place. We like what we like. And you have to always think of, some people always say, well, if I don't have this on it, that's going to affect it. Customer service is huge. So know how to treat your customers. Make sure you stay on top of the little things that you did when you first opened up. Keep those little things going, because that customer experience is really important. So I just want to tell you that. All right, so let's look a little bit further here. I want to look at the management of your operation. You'll make some decisions before you open up and launch your business. Who's going to manage it? Is it going to be you? Are you going to be in the kitchen? Are you going to be on the floor? Are you going to be a solid manager that's watching and making sure that things are done right? So sometimes our business gets busy and the manager is in the back. He never knows what's happening out front. And so as the owner of that business, you kind of have to have that hat on of watching to make sure that your employees are providing that same experience that you would provide, the ones that you've taught them. So I had one business owner that said, they just don't do things the way I want to. And my question to them after they finished talking was, have you trained them? Were they trained on how you wanted this done before you opened up? And he said, well, no, I didn't have time. So we can't expect people to do things what we're thinking in our head. Okay. So we have to make sure that there's training, appropriate training that happens, that tells the expectation of what we're wanting them to do. And so, and when I said that to him, I was like, well, how are they supposed to know what you want if you haven't trained them? Well, I mean, he said, I'm just assuming that everybody does this. No, everybody doesn't. And a lot of times you may be working with someone that has only just worked a job. So they may not know what the owner is expecting if they've worked, at, a fast food place or something like that. So we have to be conscious of the people we hire, making sure that they can do the job that we're calling them or paying them to do, and making sure they understand what our expectation is in that position. So that's management. And then making sure that your operation is running as efficiently as you can, because the more efficient you are, the more money you save and the more money you make on as a profit. Okay. So you always want to maximize the profit in your business. And that really, depends on how it's being operated and managed. All right. All right. So we talked a little bit about the breakdown of the different mixes of your product and service, and that's what this is. Looking at your goods and your services, and I'm gonna move this out of the way because sometimes this is in the way. All right. So it talks a little bit about some of the factors in product decisions. So there's always features that you have, and talking about the benefits of that product. There's a mix of different products that you may have. What's the design look like? How is it branded? And then what's the product life cycle, right? So these are all the things that you want to take into consideration when you're have that breakdown of the product or service. Are they on the website? And is the website describing what all this does? What does that look like? Are we talking about the individual features that go along with your service or your products? So as we look at this, you should be thinking about what what you're offering and what does that look like? And is that something that people are purchasing? And you want to stay on top of your inventory. So if you have tons of inventory and some of the things are not moving, like lot 7, you've not sold not one product out of lot 7. Okay, so we need to look at that. If you've had that on for 3 to 4 or 5 months and you haven't made a sale in that particular product, you might look at discontinuing that product until a different time. I know during the pandemic, there were lots of the businesses that I was working with, and we went through inventory. We kind of looked at certain things. It was at that time because we had time and things were kind of shut down that we looked over products that were not selling. And because we were kind of closed and temporarily half open, we were able then to identify those things that wasn't going and remove them and place them with things that during the pandemic seemed to be a hit. And they're still doing pretty good in those businesses. So you have to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that type of stuff because you don't want to have inventory that you can't sell. You absolutely make no money that you've already spent on that. So just remember, these are just key things that the owner should be looking at and checking. And if you hire a good manager, that good manager with experience would be able to do that as well. All right. So we're talking here now a little bit about the marketing plan, and we did kind of go over this. But again, getting the word out, that's the number one thing. And no matter what you use, the thing that I really wanted to share on this part was that before the pandemic, there are lots of different networking events, tips groups, and things like that that you can be a part of. I love that there are tips groups, and some people are perfect for tips groups. I like to meet new people all the time, so I'm probably not one that will go to a weekly meeting with the same people. Not that I don't care, just that I like meeting different people all different times. So I go to a plethora of different networking events, and I'm so happy that they're getting going again. I love to visit those groups that are industry specific sometimes. So I visit them all. I go to different things. I go to different chambers. I go to a lot of different women events. I go to some events that are anyone can come to because I just love having um, and meeting people. And I never know who I can connect them to. I am a habitual connector. I am that. I may meet you, but I will connect you to 15 other people. And so just keep those things. The more people you know that you make relationships with. I'm not saying just give them a card and you never call. Whenever I give somebody a card, I have a plan of action. I'm going to either connect with them at a coffee or something that gets us together. I want that relationship to build because I never know when I may need that particular relationship. I don't know when I might need to refer that relationship. So I like to have those things near and dear to me. But getting the word out in your marketing plan and networking is huge. Whatever challenge you may use, and then just laying out your target market. You want to make sure that you're doing that. And a lot of times when you go to these networking events and you're just say that you may be an introvert. So a lot of times what happens is that if you're in an event and it's public, a lot of times people will come up to you and and you listen at what they have to say. And then you can say, well, my name is so and so, this is my business, this is what I do. So just have something prepared in your head, because networking is going to be popping up all over the place, and you want to increase the number of customers you have and the people that you know. So you want to go to these things. So don't be afraid to go because you're introvert. You'll be able to go and they will automatically come up and start talking to you. So, and we'll talk about networking a little later on, but this is a way to really market your business. Okay. Word of mouth is great, but seeing people and talking to them is even better. All right, so let's look a little bit at the sales strategy, because a lot of times, um, you kind of I kind of observe too. I kind of look first. I don't just go and buy. I always like to kind of scope things out. So when we look at this sales strategy here, it says, you first that customer's observing to see if, oh, is this something that I want? You know, um, is it time for me to kind of look and see? So they kind of look around, they kind of get oriented on whether or not that's what they really want. They'll get around to making a decision if they're going to purchase. It depends on how things are set up that could drive them to whatever this is that they're thinking of purchasing. If you are around, that's when you need to come in and not be a bother to them, but come in and say, just ask a few questions. It's like, this is, answer any questions for them, because if you're there to help them, not bother. When I say not bother, I mean, it's like I hate going in stores and someone rushes up to me. I mean, let me get in the store and do some shopping. Because sometimes that doesn't happen so much anymore. But back in the day it did. And that used to really bug me. So I would usually leave the store because I don't need anyone following me around. But I think that sometimes when people go into stores now, they know what they want and they're going in to purchase, or either they're online. So online, you got to have things specific, precise, clear, understanding, so they can know what they want. They go and get it. And it really cuts off that salesperson. But you have to have your website and your Facebook page, so that they're just drawn into whatever it is that you're selling, and then they'll act and purchase. And so it takes time to get everything set up and going, but that's what you have. You have a business. We have to put time in that business, and we have to always be putting back into that business. I sometimes talk to clients because they've been in the business for 3 years and they haven't changed anything. And if that business stays that way with the trends changing around them, that business will go out of business. And so I'm always talking to my clients to say, look, you know, um, here's some trendy things that are happening in this industry. So that industry could be in construction, it could be in the restaurant business, it could be, in whatever that market is. Like, these are things that we need to capitalize on and not wait. And so you're always, as an owner, you're always, looking at your business, looking at trends. What can I do different? How can I make this look better? Sometimes it's changing a storefront changes the business. And so you want to make sure that you stay on top of these things. Okay. All right. So financial projections. And when you're first starting your business, and a lot of times people will say, well, what do you expect? And someone asked me one time, what's a projection? And I said, you know what? It's really basically just an estimate. What's your estimation that you'll make for per day in this industry? What is that? How much do you think you'll make per day? And then we can take that day and add it up to what you make a week. Take that week, add up 4 weeks, will give us what we'll make in a month. These are projections, okay? So don't be afraid of it. And we want to make sure that we set goals in our revenues. What goals do we want to make? Okay. What's our monthly goal? What's our 6-month goal? And what's our annual goal for that business? Right? So you want to make sure that you're setting appropriate goals for the time, for the space, for whatever it is that you're selling, and understand that that's going to grow. So you may start out saying, I'll be making, 5,000 a month. Um, but there's things that you do, business will pick up. So, you want to say, okay, so I'm projecting the first 3 months, I'll be making 5 to 6,000. The next, the following 3 months, I'll probably be at the $8,000 to $9,000 range. And so, they're projections. You look at typically what something costs, what people would pay, how many people are going to come in, and you're doing projections. Okay. Um, because I'm not gonna, I don't, you can kind of read this stuff here. I just kind of like to kind of explain stuff to you. So we'll go to the next one. And so when we think about the business plan, and we've talked about the components, we've kind of went into detailing some of those components, mostly all of them actually. And we talked a little bit about the different areas. So here is asking us or saying, who is it that's going to look at this business plan? Who is the audience for it? Well, anyone that would want to invest in your business, any institutions of lending that you might go to, they would be interested in that plan because they want to see how you plan to market that business, what you're selling. They want to look at that description. And remember, all of this is in that executive summary. Okay. The summary is what you've collected, little data from all the components and the data that you've collected. It's going to go on the part of that will go into the executive summary. So they can look on that executive summary and say, okay, well, this looks pretty good. This makes sense. The numbers are not, way out there. Like you can never make these numbers. And then others, could be family or friends who want to invest in that business. So that's who that plan is actually for. Okay. And also remember that it is a live document. So you want to keep it handy and close to you so that if anything changes in the business, you want to update your business plan. Okay. So when we talk about starting a business, we want to first of all look at the objectives. What are we solving a problem? What is it that we're doing? We want to develop the necessary tasks that we need to meet those objectives, right? We want to make sure that we have the labor, the resources that we need to implement those tasks. So how many people do I need? I have, 14 tasks. How many people I need to run those 14 tasks? What monetary resources do I need? What other tasks do I need? That all needs to be laid out. And then, you set a timeline. I've known people that have said, I'm starting a business. And a month later, they started a business. Were they ready? No. Because it just, no matter what type of business it is, if there's no thought into it, there's no thought coming out of it. So you can't have something be a success when you haven't thought about it. You need to put things down and have an expectation for what that's going to bring. So I just want to say that you want to determine what's inventory that's leaving out, what's tracking and seeing what's happening. So you want to assess that to see, okay, are we moving in the right direction? Do we have the right things that we are selling? Are they moving? And tracking and seeing what that looks like. Am I making money? Am I not making money? Do I need to change what I'm doing? So there's always that desk checking is what I call to make sure we have everything set and that we're ready to go. And then you want to finalize that plan, right? And once that plan is finalized, you want to have maybe your close team that you've been working with to look at that and have them involved in the process and make sure that everything is working appropriately. Okay, that's the business plan process. And even though today we didn't go into how to research, but we did talk about the components and giving you some additional information. Now, the other thing is that you may have to revise your plan because say that now it's a year and maybe there were cost overruns or you may have had some some shortfalls. Maybe you didn't make the 5,000 the first 3 months like you thought. So you want to adjust that. And then why you might need to adjust it. You want to look at everything to see, okay, well, maybe we need to change what we're doing. Maybe we have too many menu items on the menu. Maybe maybe we're doing too many projects and we're not getting enough done. Maybe you didn't complete all of the projects. So when you revise that business plan, make sure you're keeping it updated because if anything like a pandemic happened, you want to be able to pull that business plan out and look at what things you can change. There was a lot of pivoting going on after the first 3 months of the pandemic. The pandemic really hit us hard in March. What NEF was doing at the end of March was offering deferrals to all of our clients, 3 to 4 month deferrals. So because they needed that, it was chaos. And I remember about 2 months after that, about in April or May, as we were having our workshops and we were doing a lot of mental health stuff and talking with individuals, talking about management of our business, what things we could do differently, people started pivoting. They started saying, oh, wow, we would make suggestions. We would offer suggestions about different things. Why, let's do curbside. Let's have a window put in. Let's do all these things. And it worked, so we can't just be stuck or so rigid in what we're doing that we can't change. We need to be able to have a business that is flexible, that we can stay on top of the trends in that industry, and that we can continue to update as we go along and not be afraid to make a decision. All right. So just knowing that our business plan is a roadmap, right? It's a live document. I say that all the time. People say, what do you mean it's a live document? And what I mean by that is that it has to be updated at whatever changes. And you can always go back and look at it. Hey, what were the goals that we had for the marketing plan? What were the goals that we had, for our sales strategy? Let's go back and look at that. Let's see if we're on target, right? So that's what I mean. It's a live document. You want to keep it handy. It's not something you throw in a drawer because it's done. It's never done. As long as that business is alive, that business plan is in place. And you want to make the changes that you need to, keep it near, keep it handy, make changes that you need to, and update it as you go along. Okay? So, and that's what I want. I want to stop right there and ask if there are any questions. And I don't have the chat up right now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have some. Let me answer these. Okay. All right. So they were just saying that the recording will be available on DoSpace YouTube page. Great. Thank you guys so much for that. And let me just say this. I really appreciate DoSpace. We've been coming on and presenting, and I love being able to do that. I love, all of us do. We love from the Nebraska Enterprise Fund being able to. So we really appreciate this platform, and we thank you guys so much for allowing us to do this. So thank you so much to DoSpace and all of you guys who attend as well. That's really awesome. All right, so some of the uses. So let me get this out of the way. All right, and we kind of know for our business plan, we use that to secure capital. The first thing a lender will ask you, and I know at Nebraska Enterprise Fund, and yeah, and banks as well, they want to know, how you're gonna, what are you gonna use the funds for? So remember that as you do your application for funding, you want to make sure that you list out, if you're asking for 50,000, list out in detail what that $50,000 is going to dollars are going to cover. Okay, because they need to know. There, it's not like, okay, I just want 50,000 for what? We need to know what that's for. And I say it like that because so many people will ask them, well, why do you need to know all of that? Well, it's our money, and we want to make sure that it's going to the right thing. We don't want, we're not just giving money to someone because you have a business. We want to know how that's going to impact your business, what things you plan to do with it. And so, and then, it's a guide for your goals, right? And that document can help you stay on track. So, yeah, those are some of the uses. You want to make sure that you keep it handy, as I stated earlier. All right, so now we won't be writing our business plan today. However, though, on July 8th, we will have a business plan clinic where you'll actually get to, if you don't have your business plan, and we haven't set the venue yet for that, that will be in person. And what we do is we bring in laptops with a software that's on it for business plans, and we have individuals come. And so we can do, like, I think 15 to 20 individuals at a time. So if any of you are interested in that, please let me know. And right now we do have a tool that if you're needing to get a business plan done quickly, we have a tool that we use with our clients right now. And so if you call, if you want to have that, have a business plan done quickly, we have a tool that can help you with that. So I think I have my information on the next page here. And this is just, telling you about that event. But yeah, we love working with individuals. So this is on July 8th at 3:30. We're not quite sure on the venue for that yet, but I will, anyone that wants to know can contact me directly, and or DoSpace, and we can get that information to you guys. Oh, I guess I don't have the ending out there. So I can put my information in the chat. Let me go back. I'll put my information in the chat here. And so if you guys want to contact me, are there any questions while I'm doing that? And let me check the chat. Okay, I don't see anything out there. All right, so this is my information here. All right. And there we go. All right, so if there are no questions, this is the end of my presentation. I really appreciate you guys for joining us today. And are you seeing any chats on Facebook? I mean, any questions out there?
Nope, we're
Okay,
good on
great.
this end here.
Okay, good. Well, I did put my information in the chat, so if anybody need that information,